What?
Slow motion! Yes.
Yeah.
You're not now. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another movie review from MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on this Friday night here in the UK, on YouTube and
everywhere.
Of course, Twitch. We're everywhere, here,
Apart
there,
from
and
Australia.
everywhere. Yeah, everywhere, and wherever you're watching, I'm sure you'll catch up with this great review we're about to discuss. It's Stillwater, and I'm building this thing up. It's not going to be that great. It's a drama. So it's a kitchen sink drama, but this is directed by Tom McCarthy and stars the likes of Matt Damon. It's Matt Damon. Yeah, Camille Cotton, Abigail Breslin, so on, John. It's a Ruth as well. Sorry, it's a very condensed cast. There's a lot of sort of side players in this, but the main four are obviously the Bill character, Virginia, Alison, and Maya, and some side characters in there, bent cops and stuff like that. But we'll get into that, I'm sure. 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
A bent cop that looks like a potential Roman gladiator, or Roman emperor.
He looks like a side character from Taken. You know, one of those French bent cops.
Really
anyway, I'm going to pass this over to you now, John, so you can take us through this review experience and, of course, our rating system, the PEGAT rating system.
The PEGAT. Well, Stephen, I'm furiously trying to find that system. And thank you very much for putting it on to me, Stephen. I do appreciate it. I'm going to go into this rating system before we carry on and actually review the movie. This is how we operate. This is how we grade movies. A minus, A through F. It's been a long day. I thought I was having a stroke at one point today, then Stephen comes in and tells me Pfizer vaccines actually cause strokes. So you can imagine. It's interesting. But anyway, back to this. If I have a stroke mid-show, don't worry about me. I'll go to the hospital, I'll be fine.
John, I'm trying to bring us up on YouTube here, and someone's been on my iPad looking at Chubby Check and the Fat Boys. Don't know what that's all about.
Stephen, that aside, F is a terrible movie. Only the very worst go in here. D minus through plus is an average movie. It's average, it's not good, it's not bad. Average. C minus through plus is good. It's a good movie. A lot of movies will go in here. A lot of MCU movies will go in here, and some other good movies will go in here. B minus through plus, that's an excellent movie. It may have slight elements in it that make it excellent. It may just be the whole experience is excellence. And then last but not least, A is perfection. That's for the very best movies, greatest movies ever made. A couple of examples I always use are Apocalypse Now, Godfather, Shawshank Redemption, Schindler's List,
Teen Wolf,
and 96 that I watched from the Indian subcontinent. Stephen, what was that he says there?
Teen
Sorry.
Wolf.
What one?
Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf. I've got headphones on, so it's there's no isolation. But I still can't hear Stephen. And it's tragic. We'll have to sort that out. We'll have to start feeding audio into our headphones when we're speaking here. But with that in mind, that's how we rate the movie. That's perhaps going to enlighten you when we get to the end. If indeed you get to the end and we grade the movie, you'll see where it slides in on that scale that we create just for reviews. With that aside, let's get into the actual review itself. What was your thoughts going into this movie? How did you discover this movie? I'll go first. I discovered this movie via a video clip from Cannes Film Festival where the movie was showcased and Matt Damon was brought to tears after an 8-minute standing ovation. And I thought, that's interesting. Matt's back. He's had a little badding patch going on Jimmy Kimmel, being the butt of the jokes, playing along. He's been nominated in comedies which aren't comedies at the Golden Globes. Now he's back doing serious drama, and apparently very well, because he's getting a standing ovation for 8 minutes. It intrigued me. That's ultimately what led me to watch this movie. What is your thoughts though, man? Stephen, I shall go to you, then I'll bring Ruth in.
Yeah.
Because I'll just switch it up. We'll like to switch this up. I usually go to Ruth then Stephen. We'll switch it up. And we'll switch it up again later on in the review as well. Don't worry about it. How did you discover this movie, Stephen? Were you much like me? Did you discover it via that 8-minute standing ovation? Or were you aware of this movie prior to that? And what was your mindset getting in?
I wasn't aware of it. I think it was you did a solo show because I don't remember talking about it. And I think I was watching it and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I saw the trailer not long after it, and it gave me vibes of Three Billboards, Nomadland, that kind of kitchen sink drama type. The way it's shot as well, it looked beautifully shot. I know we'll talk about
unreal in this.
The technical aspects later on, but that was my introduction to it. And it's Matt F and Damon as well, so I was on board right away with this, but I did like the trailer. It was very intriguing.
Stephen, what was your first interaction with Matt Damon? I'm intrigued. For me, it was probably a Good Will
Hunting. The time I met him in a bar in Boston, I think it was, Samuel Adams, we were drinking all night. It was
Go Red Sox. Yeah.
No, my impression of him, or my first impression of Matt Damon.
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was his very first project, I think, working with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Ruth, that aside, though, we're going off on tangents and speaking about my first interactions with Matt Damon, not at all applicable to this movie.
The Boston story is not true, folks.
It's not. Yeah, if only. I wish I could go to Boston, an incredible city, much like Glasgow of the United States of America. But Ruth, what was your experience getting into this movie? Did you know about this movie prior to the Cannes Film Festival, or was it really... Where did you first discover this movie, man, and what was your mindset?
I just came across the trailer because I was like going through all the latest movies. I was just seeing what's new, and I came across the trailer, and then it was like... I must say that the trailer was a little bit misleading for me as compared to the movie, because it was the tone of the trailer was different from what the tone of the movie was.
Can you actually share what the tone was of the trailer? Because I have to admit, I've actually not seen the trailer, so I've been tricked to see.
It was a bit more fast-paced, and it kind of gave the impact. It gave the effect of something closer to what he would have done in a Bond film or something, and his Bond supremacy film. Not like full on that way, but it had a little bit of that fast cuts in the sense that you didn't get the vibe of a dramatic performance.
Slow burn.
But then the movie was all about a dramatic performance. But
and very slow.
That was just this was the only disconnect I felt between the trailer and the movie itself. But that's how I found out. I just stumbled on the trailer quite by accident, and then I was thinking, okay, Matt Damon, and I know enough about Matt Damon that it prompted me to watch the movie because he's been consistently good in everything he's done, so I didn't think I would be disappointed.
One of my favourite Matt Damon movies of the last 10 years, I think it's Hereafter, where he's playing this sort of psychic, and I think he's something to do with the tsunami, I think, in Boxing Day. I'm sure it was something linked to that, but I'm sure that was Matt Damon, and it was an incredible movie. And I liked The Martian. I liked The Martian as well. And obviously he's just had so many great movies throughout his career. He does a multitude of different genres. That's really what drew me to this movie, his presence.
There was a movie that I didn't like. I reviewed it. You can read it on our website.
Was that the Shrunken one?
It was that was not too bad. It started off well, but it was...
He was in Le Mans 66 as well, Ford v Ferrari.
Suburbicon, which was a George Clooney directed movie. And it was just bland. It was just such a bland... It wasn't even kitchen sink drama. Interesting. It was like kitchen drain drama. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
Apparently it was in Unsane, that movie. It was shot with an iPhone 7. Didn't know that. Well, it doesn't matter though. I'm much like you, Ruth. That's why I was drawn to this movie, just because of this guy's career, mostly good outings, and intrigued to see how he lended himself to this story. I also had the synopsis, the story of this daughter being incarcerated, him having to acclimatise to a new landscape and try and get her out. I thought that was intriguing. Getting into it though, man, the actual story itself, focus on the writing, the way it was paced, the way it ebbed forward, the characters' development, the themes explored. I've got big fucking S's on what I thought of this movie here, man. I was writing this down at 3 in the morning. The big existential sort of thoughts I had on this movie and what it meant for the Bill Baker, I think it was, character, Bill Baker. And look, for me the story was quite slow. It was a slow burn movie, but as I've said time and again, that's something that doesn't put me off. I like Ari Aster movies, and they're slow as hell. They tend to explode at points. This movie never really exploded. It was very slow burn, but I felt the story required that. It was a necessity with this sort of guy finding his way in this alien landscape. This guy's a roughneck from Oklahoma. He's an out of work drill mechanic, and he has to go to Marseille on the French Riviera and
Fish out of water.
communicate with these sort of French arty types who are speaking one of the most romantic, if not the most romantic languages, delicate, soft languages on the world. Every interaction was painful. At parts, if not everyone, but a lot of the interactions were painful. And I thought that necessitated, if that's even the right word, a slow burn sort of story pacing. And look, it wasn't. That's not a negative. We'll get into the actual pros and cons of this movie, I'm sure, later on. But for me, the character development was really reserved to one guy, and it was the Bill character. He develops so much. He goes from this fuck up, as his daughter calls him, to really becoming a fully fledged. Well, not fully fledged. He's been fully fledged before, but revealing his personality, his true, being to the audience. But look, man, I'm going on and on here. I've got lots of thoughts on it. I'll let you in before I come in and share my thoughts again. What did you make about the story, Ruth? What was your thoughts on the writing, the character development, the pacing? Do you agree with me that it was quite a slow burn affair? And
Well, yeah,
did that wind you up, or
definitely,
do you think it was necessary?
No, I think it was necessary because the way it was shot, I mean, the way it was written, in fact, the way it unraveled, you kind of go on the journey with him. I found that, when the movie started, right, first there was that jarring for me because it was different from the trailer. And then it started, when they showed him going to France and, trying to see his daughter and all that. And after that onwards, I felt like I was going through the journey with him. I don't know how
Fine, well,
best to explain it, but it was like I was going on that journey with him. And then, it's like as he's discovering things and as he's figuring things out, it's like you went along with him. And that was, I think, the strongest part of the way it was written.
Yeah.
It gave you time for the story to develop, and it felt very real. It's very simple the way it developed throughout, but the way it was told, I thought the pace worked very well with what they wanted to convey. So yeah, I didn't find the pace boring or slow or whatever. I was very immersed in the story.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel the time go.
Yeah, listen, I said the same thing in my notes. Literally, the third thing I wrote down in my notes was really enjoying this flying the wall vibe. 20-30 minutes into this movie, it was very much flying the wall. I felt like I was in this experience with the Bill character, but I was disconnected at the same time. I was kind of watching it unfold, but I felt as the movie went on, you bonded to this guy. And look, I spoke to a certain family member who didn't enjoy this.
Your dad?
No, my mother. Actually, my dad did enjoy it, really liked it, which surprised me. Tell you, he's not usually into these kind of movies. I think the absolute key to enjoying this movie is bonding to the Bill character, to Matt Damon. If you don't bond to this guy, you don't bond to his story, to even his daughter and the way she interacts with him, you're out the movie, forget about it. The fact that early on I bonded to this guy's experience, this fish out of water, awkward interactions, that meant that I went through the story, I was completely connected to him, and then I enjoyed what unfolded thereafter and what the journey he went on. For me, this story is all about Bill. It's all about this guy. It's very character driven. It's very, how shall I call it, insular? I don't know, is that the right word? I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Stephen?
I would say limited as well, John.
What's your thoughts on the story, Stephen?
He's not a Brian Mills. He's not the guy from Taken who's quick thinking, planning 10 steps ahead. This is a guy that's fish out of water, as you described. He can't speak the lingo. Yeah. He's basically what we would do in that situation. We're not skilled people, like Brian Mills, the Liam Neeson character from Taken. We don't know how to do these things, And he doesn't understand law. He doesn't understand, loopholes and stuff like that.
The lie of the land in these surrounding suburbs.
And then he try to obviously identify the real criminal in this film is going to be hard enough because he hasn't got a full name, he hasn't got an address, he doesn't know what the guy looks like. So it's all about piecing it together, and that's why there is a bit of investigation involved in this from a very, I don't want to say simple man. He's an ordinary, hard-working man who's out of
bit of spontaneity job there as well, Stephen. Yeah. How it all unfolds.
Yeah, and I think it's realistic. That's why it's slow burn. It's realistic because she's not going anywhere. It's not like, I'm going to say this again, it's not like Taken where he's only got so many hours before she's lost forever, and he's got to try and track her down. She's in prison. She's not going anywhere. So he's got the time to figure this out with the help of obviously Virginia, who is it Virginie, sorry, played by Camille Cotton, who I thought she was outstanding in this movie.
Is that the French woman?
Yeah,
really good.
Bit obnoxious at the start, out in the balcony.
We'll get to that,
Yeah.
Stephen. I've got some thoughts on that, I tell you. I've got some thoughts on the journey of Bill and how I think it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
You want me to share them?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I think there's, first of all, I've got multiple sort of critiques on this story.
Theories.
And why I think it's absolutely class. I love the multi-layered nature of it. I thought it was thought-provoking. I've said Matt Damon was sublime. Misunderstood, borderline tragic figure. This guy's getting flack from his mother, from his daughter, everyone. He feels like he's a bit of a failure. He's out of work. He can't get a, sort of break in life. He's lost his wife.
I think the Sharon
His
character
daughter's
was
incarcerated.
His mother-in-law.
Was it his
I
mother-in-law?
think so, yeah.
Yeah, because I think his mother.
Because his mother-in-law says, Sharon, her name is, says you're still not speaking to your mother or something.
Yeah, because she's away.
Yeah.
And then also the actual wife, she passed away. So
Yeah.
and there's some tragedy in that. So I thought it was a really multi-layered story. But Stephen, for me, I just thought it was so cool that this guy's introverted, quite uncommunicative at the start of the movie. It's all one-word responses. He's trying to sleep. This woman out in the balcony, he's having a great time drinking, quite loud. He gets pissed off with her. The fact that he ends up with her, staying with her, having a bit of a relationship with her, connecting with her daughter, and she almost changes him and opens him up and makes him more of a fully fledged 3D human being, if you'd like. I thought that was incredible. And he's mixing with this artsy extrovert. I thought that was class, and it's for me it says love is universal here. This is me getting all deep. It supersedes cultural barriers and language barriers. It opens this guy up. This guy goes on a journey from a tragedy, his daughter being wrongly imprisoned. He goes on this journey, he's downtrodden, and then he really does find himself, and that's probably the best moment of his entire life from this tragedy. I thought that was quite special, the way they wrote that, but I'll get into it more and more, I'm sure, as we go on. I like to look into things very deeply. I thought that was class. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that out of the phrase here. He's this sort of hopeless, dark soul. He's cleaning up after a tornado. He's got nothing. He's surrounded by people who've got nothing. It's bleak. It's Oklahoma. It's a shithole. He goes to one of the most romantic places in the world, France. It's the Riviera. Meets this woman, connects with her little daughter, and the only reason he's there is to save his young daughter from this horrendous plight she's in. And he actually has an incredible experience through it. And at the end, I felt an absolute tragedy. The guy had lost it all, and he can't come to terms with it. I think his daughter says to him, "It's all the same here, isn't it?" He says, "No, everything's changed. I don't recognise anything." But he can't get back. He's lost it all. But we spoke about that. We'll get into that as well. 96 and some other stories that end with a realistic ending, because not everything's Hollywood and ends with a fantasy ending. That's life, man. You make decisions and you live and die by it. But standout moments, man. Standout moments in this movie. It's going to be hard because it's a fucking drama movie.
I've got one that stands out.
Well, I've got one as well, Steve. I'll let you go first, though.
John, it's the one he knocks out that guy in the street after the football match. It's you're not meant to laugh at it, but
one punch.
I think that's the kind of thing I would do in that situation. I would hunt him down, knock him out, and then I'd tie him up and put him in a basement.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm just being honest. People might think I'm an absolute lunatic, but that's what I would do.
You would in that situation.
If it was my daughter in that situation.
That's what I would do too.
Yeah,
you would. If it's to get your daughter out of prison, absolutely you would. That's the only hope.
It was just the way, and I loved that relationship between him and that guy as well, because there was moments when he was tied up, I was starting to think, I think the daughter might be guilty here.
So, Stephen, I thought the same thing.
I'm starting to believe this guy.
When he said Stillwater, I'm like, fucking hell, she's actually guilty. She's been lying the whole time.
And I thought, they're throwing us a curveball here. Just like last week's film in the last 2 minutes. I was like, okay, right, I'll go with that. But that was my standout moment. There was other ones, I thought the
football sequence at the Velodrome in Marseille.
Yeah, I thought the police coming to the basement as well was very tense.
Yeah.
Oh, how good
I loved that.
There was such a tense moment.
I was like, it's not that door, it's that one down there. It's the one door. No,
just get you through doors if you get the key.
So good.
And the fact that young Maya actually stood her ground and said to the policeman yesterday,
was really good. Yeah.
You know if you lie, I'll know if you're lying. No, you don't, bitch, because she is lying, and she's lied right to your face. She's 8 years old and she's just schooled you. Out you go. I love that sequence. Look, Ruth, I'll let you in, man. If you get any standout moments before I maybe share some of mine, because I actually do echo some of the ones that Stephen says. They're standouts.
No, I like the moment that Stephen mentioned as well, because, and it's something that it was the natural trajectory of things, because the first time he encountered that guy, he was like in the whole group, and then he ended up getting beaten up, because this is not a man who, I mean, is like a fighter or anything,
He's very
and
skinny.
these are all this, yeah, and these are all like, I mean, he might be tough in terms of his body build and stuff, but then these guys have lived on the streets, and they are constantly getting into fights and all that, and the sheer numbers, it would have been impossible for him to like confront him or even talk to him or get anything out of him. With all of them together, he
Yeah.
would have just gotten beaten up again. The best way was to kidnap him and take him
Yeah.
and tie him up, and and figure it out. So I mean, in that sense, there was no other option he had, and I thought that was a very it just took a turn, and I liked all the suspense of whether or not the police will find out that he's there and that kind of thing. So that was all very good.
It was,
I
yeah.
also liked all the, for me, the other standout moments was all his interaction with the little girl, with Maya.
Yeah.
I thought the chemistry that both of them had was really good. It's like she was his kid,
Yeah.
and it was his second chance, at being a father. So I thought
I like that
it was
line.
very, very brilliantly
My
done. Yeah.
tablet. I know, I'm using it, bed. She was
I'm
wanting her
trying not to
tablet.
pronounce any. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. The
Yeah.
interactions were brilliant between those two characters. That's a real
Yeah.
strong point for me. And again, that was almost like a recognition from Bill that he'd failed in his actual
Really?
daughter. She'd landed in this place. It was almost symptomatic of him not giving her the right upbringing. He was this drunken, sort of alcoholic, prone to violence, not a great father. He tried to remedy that with this other young girl, give her a strong, stable sort of male figure. So you're right, I thought that was something that was absolutely stand out for me.
And I like the idea that, when you were talking about them on the balcony, and, the first interaction was like so bad. And then after that, him reaching out and helping the daughter actually helped
Yeah.
to, bring both of their worlds together. And it
And bring
turns
the whole
out that
movie
she
together.
wasn't as bad as we, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what real life is, actually. I mean, I have spent a lot of time, I've traveled to different places, I've lived in different places, and I've always found that, initially, whenever you go to any place, that's what happens. You feel like a fish out of water, you're not quite sure of yourself, you don't know anybody there. And then all it takes is just you to step out and do something
Yeah.
that's nice. And then for people also to, then they also throw aside all their assumptions. Like, people sometimes stereotype certain people based on the previous experiences they've had.
Yeah.
And then they get to know the person, and they like, so she probably had her version of, oh, American, and maybe her thinking was a bit different, and then suddenly she sees, okay, pleasantly she's surprised, and he has his notions about maybe what a French person would be like, and that kind of thing. So it's all those uh, preconceived notions that they have of each other that kind of breaks when one act of kindness
Yeah.
is shown. So that was, I think, very interesting to show, and that's what it depicts real life.
Yeah. In a really natural way, Ruth,
accurately. Yeah.
to unfold all of the events of the movie. You really needed that character to translate, to bring him into this world and get some motion going in terms of investigating this Akeem guy and ultimately leading to his daughter getting back home. And that was really naturally all brought together. The little interaction with the kid, him getting to know this family, staying with the family. It was a place where he could bunker down in Marseille for 4 months minimum, probably longer, until he got obviously the result he wanted. And you're right, just the interactions with the family in general, not just even Maya for me, but the actual interactions with some of the artsy film types or theatre types that were coming around the apartment were standouts for me. When the director came round and he's speaking about theatre, screenplays and stuff like that. I think he goes to touch him in the head and he says, Oklahoma, I love it. Okay. I just love these interactions, man. Do you go to the theatre? No, ma'am. Never. No, ma'am. Okay. Just the interactions, it was awkward at times, but I never felt awkward for Bill. He was just set in his ways.
Yeah.
He was that kind of guy. It was the other people around him who were trying to get something out of him. I felt awkward for them in a
if I
way.
had any gripes with the Bill character, it probably would have been not exploring his past too much. And I don't mind the way they actually handled it, but on the flip side of that was the way that Alison was handled. Her interactions with her father weren't justified because they didn't delve into his past. They said he had a drink problem, he was out of work, that kind of thing, but it didn't delve too much into to justify the way she was until, and I just thought of it a couple of minutes ago, was the point where she tried to hang herself. Then I got that's a frame of mind then.
And just before that, Stephen, when she's out for the day, she speaks about her mother dying, him putting all her belongings in storage. If he stops paying and she loses all of that connection to her mother, you get a sense of that sort of relationship. It's dysfunctional. She's even got some of that in her as well. She says, I'm a fuck up as well. So, and she says at the end, what's wrong with us?
Afraid of, I think that's what she's afraid of. She's afraid that's how she'll end up. Either she'll end up like a screw up like her dad used to be, or she would kill herself like her mom. So absolutely. It's a pretty heavy burden for a child to, a young woman to carry with herself.
And then also the fact she was dabbling with this sort of being a gay person, being incarcerated because of that in a way. They prejudiced against her. But there's just a lot of stuff.
I still think she deserved a slap.
She was a deeply unlikable character for me. I can understand her viewpoint, why she is the way she is. She's had a bad roll of the dice in life.
But it's a selfish way to think as well.
Just the way she treated her father. And Stephen, it's probably for the reasons you mentioned. Not fleshing out his backstory enough. You don't understand the interactions.
His character was written the best it could be. I'm not saying it was a negative or anything like that, but if they're going to do that, then they have to give him that kind of backstory to justify the way she is. But
it was a 2 or 20 movie as well, so I mean, if you start trying to fill in the backstory and going a little bit more grandiose with that, it's knocking up the ass.
I just feel that it would have been better if at least towards the end of the movie you did show her visibly regretful for the way she has treated the father, or at least acknowledging that he had changed. It was there very subtly, but there was nothing really like on her part vocally saying that she thinks he has changed.
I think they tried it. I think they tried it with her walking to his house and sitting, and he gets up and sees her sitting. I think they tried that to show, look, they're mending. There's a begrudging respect from my daughter now, but you're right, that wasn't really vocalised.
Yeah, the only thing she did was she apologised. She just apologised, for him having to give up everything and leave and that kind of thing. But other than that, I didn't really see her visibly change her mind.
No.
About what the father was, or even showing an ounce of. Did she even tell him thank you?
No.
At any point?
Not an ounce of
I'm aware of not on screen. No.
So that's the thing that bugged me a little bit about her character.
Even their interactions with him. When he basically says, I bought you this necklace, I know for a fact you gave it away to this guy who ultimately kills, I think it's Lena or Alina. Just her response, it felt a little bit sociopathic, a little bit emotionless. Like she's crying, putting on the crocodile tears to say, oh, I didn't mean for it to happen, I didn't want her to die. I'm like, I fucking don't know about this character. Is she having his on here? I was, as I says, I was firmly connected and bonded to Bill.
I can't remember that guy's name. It was tied up, but I think what she was trying to say was
that
get her out of my life, but he took it literally,
Yeah, he did. He killed her.
Yeah.
Was it Akeem? I think it was Akeem, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it
Akeem,
was.
Yeah. No, it cracked him up as well and really wound me up here. They were referring to this Akeem character as a, how would you call it? Wasn't an Arab. They were referring to him as being a sort of Arab of descent, but this guy was clearly not Arabian. He wasn't from North Africa or anything like that. He was fucking white. He was as white as me and you, Stephen. I'm like, they're referring to this guy, look for this Arabian sort of figure. He ain't Arabian, he's white. He's French. He looks as French as hell. This guy ain't of Arab descent. And that's another thing they actually explored in this movie. I thought it was quite, just a little superfluous little thing in this story. The sort of institutionalised bias against the sort of North African immigrants coming into France. They dabble with it, the bias in the police. The little guy she speaks to, I'll happily lock up anyone as long as it's another Arab off the street. It explores that racism, that sort of casual racism that's prevalent in France.
There was another bit that I felt was, I don't want to say it was a plot hole, because I think it was just him acting on instinct by capturing that guy in the basement. Was he didn't have to do that all along, because you probably correct me in this about law, Ruth. They had the DNA match anyway, and they would have to release her on that basis. even though they couldn't catch this Akeem guy. So it didn't have to hold him capture. That was the whole thing that I kind of asked at the end of the
I
film.
think I was just him getting his own back in this guy because he thought he was a scumbag. He's like,
was
no,
a
bitch.
scumbag, yeah.
I get beat up for you in that ghetto.
Yep.
Now I'm going to get my own back. That was another standout for me, by the way. Him walking about this Marseille suburb, this rough as hell ghetto, just casually asking people, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? I'm like, he's going to get shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
I knew it would happen.
No, but I guess it made sense that because from Matt Damon's perspective, his character, Bill's character, he's not a legal savvy in legal son, so he wouldn't know that alone would have been enough. Maybe he felt that we would need him to confess to something, or he needed to know why. What I think the retired
policeman should have, advised them on that. When he was asking, you need to get his DNA, and then you've got to wait so long for that to come back, stuff like that. But it was very elusive, that retired policeman. I think it's because he was doing work that he shouldn't have been doing, to be fair. So
that's another thing that baffled me, and they never really explain it, how the police became aware of the fact that Akeem was being stored or held hostage, captive in that basement. And I thought about it long and hard. I don't think it was the copper that was working. I don't think it was the policeman working on the day.
I think he was actually warning Virginia.
I think Virginia. Steve,
my
theory was
trying to say there's someone in your basement, but he couldn't say it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I
actually thought it was Virginia who went down, found the guy, freed him, and then actually alerted the police. But it couldn't be, because then she'd be implicating her and her daughter. So I don't know. Maybe it was that police officer.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
There is little things in there. There is little plot holes in there that they never really explain. It just furthers the story on, but it feels a little bit rushed. But it never really wound me up watching the movie. It was absolutely fine. Another thing I enjoyed about this movie, going off on this a little sidetrack to what we were speaking about there in general, but the ending and this sort of governor of Oklahoma type on the stage when she comes back home. We said we'd get you back home, and we've got you back home. You didn't get anybody back home, you fucker. You were sitting.
Nobody did anything.
You're doing nothing.
He was there for 5 years and nothing, was done.
We said you'd bring her back home, love, and we brought you back home. We ain't brought nobody back home.
That reminded me of Tom Hanks' character in
Castaway,
where he has this big parade at the end. Jesus. I'm like, what were you all doing for 5 years? Absolutely nothing. He gave up after a fortnight.
This guy's having a conversation with a volleyball, and you bitches are acting like you've been out looking. You gave up on the guy. You thought he was dead.
Yeah,
get out.
I mean, if the father hadn't gone to get her out, she would still have been there and completed the entire 9 years. Or was it a 9-year prison sentence?
Yeah. But I think again that's just showing that this sort of nuttiness in the United States. These governors, they use and they pounce on everything as a sort of self-gain. We can pounce on this as a good bit of publicity for us. Again, I think you're just taking little casual snipes at cultural things, the casual racism in South France, the sort of idiocy of these governors in the United States. There's little things in there, as you spoke about. Was it you or was it Ruth? It may have been Ruth, actually. It was you speaking about the sort of stereotypes you have of different people from different countries. They are stereotypically, if you get a gun, I've got two actually. Did you vote Trump? No. And then him sort of stereotypically looking at them. And know what else I loved? The fact that he kept saying, is it Grace, when they hold their hands and they do the little prayer before they eat, and the little girl was saying tuck in. I loved that, man. And the fact he cooks a fucking burger with beans and corn, and she comes in, I think he says, now I know why you pray. Looking at that food, I know why you pray before you eat. Just the cultural clashes. Very refined country, France. Your croissants, all your little delicacies. In the United States, a roughneck from the Midwest, if you like. I don't know if that's where Oklahoma is. Totally centuries apart, man, in terms of culture and everything. And I just loved that. Was my main takeaway from this movie, aside from all of the sort of standout sequences. Just this scene with this guy. He's a fish out of water, coming over to this country. He doesn't know anybody. He's only got his daughter, and she's locked away, and he can't really communicate with her except from little short periods. And he has to come in and change the way he thinks. And the fact he's interacting with people who are a million miles away in terms of culture, the way they think, and they actually integrates and they change him, and he gets down and he works. That's, for me, that's what the story's all about. It's all about Bill
and
finding himself.
That very fact itself showed that, it broke stereotypes because of that. Like, he couldn't find work in his own, in his own place. But he quite easily found work, in a place where, he didn't understand the language,
it was
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and he became like really good at it as well, and people like needed him
Yeah.
and needed his expertise and stuff, which is so ironic that he has been trying, to get work back home in Oklahoma and then he couldn't.
Mhm.
And then suddenly here it's like he got all this, everything fell into place
Yeah.
in the most unlikely thing. I mean, you wouldn't think a redneck like him would it's it's like when you compare the two, right? It's like France is known as this very classy, romantic city, all these people who are like beautiful and this one, and then here's this rough and tough guy, some no nonsense, salt of the earth kind of background, and then you put him in and exactly like you say, it's a fish out of
Yeah.
water, but yet he thrives so well.
He
Even
starts
better
learning
than,
French. He starts
yeah,
learning French at points.
Yeah.
exactly.
His
So
daughter
it's
looks at
so
him when he says
interesting.
something like dinner's ready in French. He's like looking at the little girl and then looking. He's like, what the fuck? This guy's learning French. I can't believe this. And just that's what I loved about it. The whole story for me was
Yeah,
about Bill at finding himself, proving that he can do it. And again, just highlighting this thing that you may be culturally different. You may be adept at a different set of things. You can have this
yeah,
artsy theatre actor. You can have this guy who's a very hands-on sort of, how would you call it? I don't know. Handsy kind of manual labourer guy. He can fix things. He can fix sinks and toilets and flush mechanisms. But he has as much of a place in the world as the sort of artsy theatre actor. And they
exactly.
can
Yeah,
coexist. You
yeah.
can have completely different things in common and get on very well. And that's what I says at the start. Love's universal. It's not sort of,
And that's
you're
the
different to
other
me,
thing
I
I
can't
like.
get on with you.
I tend, yeah, sometimes I feel that, people tend to, I don't know, maybe overlook people who are from, his background,
Yeah.
the working class and that kind of thing. I think people tend to kind of like look down on them or judge them, and I feel that this movie was interesting in the sense that it broke all those kind of stereotypes that
Mhm.
you shouldn't judge a person by like where they're from or whatever
How they
educational
speak.
background they might have. Exactly, they could all the things that he did. He was kind to the child, he was nice to the mom, he took care of them, he fought so hard to get his daughter out.
Mhm.
So all these things are characteristics that are hard to come by. These are good natures that, and it shows that he turned his life completely around.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't there are a lot of people who are a lot more educated and maybe have a better upbringing and that kind of thing, who don't even do that much,
Yeah. Yep.
in
Yeah.
real life. Yeah, so that was actually,
And listen, I tell you another little thing I liked, and I don't know if you've picked up on it, but the fact that just this notion that his daughter leaving Oklahoma, there's nothing here. I wanted to go somewhere that was different. And the fact when she comes out of prison, she dives off the cliffs and swims in the water. And it's almost like he's mimicking her. He's been forced away from Oklahoma. He probably wouldn't have left if she didn't. He has to come here. He
yeah,
settles down. He actually dives off the cliffs later on and swims. It's almost like he's mirroring her lifestyle, and he's actually becoming her in a sense. He's actually, I don't know, he's been took away from this comfort zone, and he's actually now enjoying life in France. I just thought there was a little bit of poetry there. She swims, he swims. It's almost like this journey he's going on. And at the end, she's actually saying, look, nothing's changed, as I did say. And he says, nope, everything's changed. I can't see anything that's recognisable now. This guy's totally changed.
Yeah.
He's more comfortable in fucking France than he is in Oklahoma. And that speaks volumes about the character's development. What you were saying there, briefly, before we go into performances, Ruth, it's almost like when we watch the Indian movies, the casteism. There's a lot of casteism in these movies.
yeah,
You can't interact with this person. I think it was it PETA? It was PETA, wasn't it? The woman has a baby to someone of a different caste in the flashback. And they explore that a lot in Indian movies, the casteism. It's almost like this.
Yeah.
It's not casteism because it's
yeah,
not different castes, but that sort of ignorant stereotyping of somebody that's from a different walk of life. It's
exactly, yeah,
something that's prevalent throughout the world,
Yeah.
and it gets explored in this movie.
Nationalism.
I thought standout moment,
That
moment
kind of prejudgment,
standout performance, I should say. If you've got, unless you've got anything else to say, man, about
No,
standout
no,
moments and just
no.
the story in general. Performers, any standout performers? I'll let Stephen go first.
Well, it's obviously going to be Matt Damon. He carries the film throughout. It's all about his character's development, redemption to an extent as well, and how he changes at the very end, like we've discussed. For me, the heart of the the movie for me is probably the Maya character,
Mhm.
but she's a young age, so she can't carry the whole film, the heart of the film.
She
But she's
connects
assisted.
this guy out of water, Stephen.
Yeah,
she connects this guy to this
does.
culture.
Yeah, that's it. She's the one. She's the connection that changes him. It's not Virginia. She sort of carries over the finishing line, if you like. But for me, performances, it's Matt Damon for me. He's just he's a fantastic actor. Let's be honest with you. But there's something in this this movie that I've not seen from Matt Damon in a long time. But I think it's maybe because he's been doing the Bourne films for quite a bit, and it was just reminding me of what a great actor he is. Away from action and stuff like that, away from the comedy films as well that he does with the what's it called, Silent Bob. I'm blanking on his name.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah. His relationship with him. There's just something about the character Bill that, although he's got a kind of a darkish past that's not too explored well, there's something likeable about the character for his integrity, his honesty, his hard-working ethics, which you can relate to. And I think that's Matt Damon that's just putting himself right into the character. So for me, the standout performance is Matt Damon, but Camille Cotton as well, and is it Lulu Sevald? I think
Lulu Sevald.
She was fantastic.
Sevald.
What age was she? 8 years old?
Well, she was the character, was it? I don't know if she was it.
Same age as my
Seemed a little bit small
daughter.
for it, Steve.
Yeah.
Quite honest.
But
Maybe
listen,
it's just because I'm used to really tall 8-year-olds.
Abigail Breslin, as annoying as a character Alison was, and there's some things in there that I didn't like about her. She was fantastic throughout the movie as well. But for me, it's Matt Damon.
Yeah, look, I'll let you go, Ruth. What was your standout performer in this movie? Or just performances.
Yeah.
You don't have to pick one performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody did very well, but I think, Matt Damon, outstanding. It reminded me a bit of, like you were saying, I had almost forgotten, how talented he actually is. It reminded me of, the movie he acted in, Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah,
in which,
unbelievable film.
he did this. That was his performance. That was absolutely brilliant. And what I liked about that movie was that every time he took over a new character, right, he changed his demeanor and everything. And that's what it reminded me of in this one. In this one, he completely embodied, what an oil rig worker would be like, not just his body shape and the dressing and everything.
He's a bit heavy in
But
this
he
movie.
literally, the way he walked, the way he spoke,
Theater.
like every nuance, he was so believable as someone who came from Middle America, and he sounded exactly that way. He had the demeanor down, that kind of that polite yes ma'am, no ma'am, that kind of, everything was so well done. I really it just reminded me of how good an actor he really is.
Yeah.
And so I thought, he completely blew me away in this performance. I think it's one of his best performances to date. It would be, in my list of, if I were to pick out, this would definitely be one of them.
I think it's because
And
it
I
keeps the
also
character
love
real.
I also love the little girl, Lilu. She was fantastic. There was a kind of like, what I liked about her is that she had this kind of nice youthfulness about her, but yet there was like as if there was an old soul inside.
Yeah.
The depth of her maturity was fantastic, especially when she was like, the parts where she was talking to the cops, right? It's like,
Could see a tear
there were a
there.
few things going on at the same time. It's like she's aware that obviously he's not going to get into trouble because the person is no longer there. But she had enough foresight to know that no matter what the police officer was telling her, she needed to keep his secret and to protect him, which I thought it showed a lot of maturity for a child that young, that kind of thing. So it was like, and also the moment, like, as she was saying it, there was something in her performance after that, like, as if she understood that it's going to be over, this relationship that she's having with him, and him being with the mother and everything. Like, she understood that it was over.
It's funny
because of this because of what has transpired, that even if he had remained there, that relationship would have been done because of the way he had acted. Yeah,
it was
so
irreparable.
It's
yeah.
funny. It's
So I thought that was really well
you
done.
actually reminded me of the scene right after it in her bedroom where
She's
he
lying
actually
quiet.
says to her, "I love you." I thought that was heartbreaking because he
Yeah.
never was a guy that expressed his feelings too much. I think that's probably the first time I think it's the first time you actually hear him say that.
It is,
I don't
yeah.
think he even said it to his daughter.
No, he didn't. No.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm glad he had the moment where he hugged her.
Yeah.
Virginia says to him, says to the little girl, go and hug him. Hurry up, go and say goodbye. Glad he had that moment. You actually see him crying.
Yeah.
And you can see the actual pain in Virginia's face. She doesn't want to let go. But she has to because he's completely violated her trust. He's actually embroiled her 8-year-old kid in this terrible situation. Kidnapping somebody. A little person I'd have done it as well as you did, say, Stephen. For me,
it seemed rather sad that he had to go back to,
that was a
like he'd
tragedy.
achieved a perfect life,
Yeah.
and then he had to go back to the point of the place where he knew only failure.
Yeah.
So this was a bit poignant in that sense. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. The whole movie for me was about Bill. It's called Stillwater. It's this place he can't get away from. It's stuck in the past. He's only really got at this sort of aging, COPD-ridden mother-in-law and a dog, and he's got nothing but failure, and it brings nothing but pain to him because he's lost his wife. There's nothing. There's failure, as you did say. No employment, nothing. And for him to go away and find that life and then get it ripped away while saving his daughter, it's sort of that decision you have to make. Do I save my daughter from this terrible situation, or do I have my perfect lifestyle? Again, you speak about selflessness. This guy being salt of the earth, a good working class man with good values. That proves it again at the end. It does make the right choice, even though it's him sacrificing what he loves in his life. And I thought that was special, and ultimately that is why, for me, Matt Damon is the standout performer as well in this movie. He's just incredible. He thoroughly deserves his standing ovation.
Yeah.
He can. And the fact that he actually was brought to tears, visible emotion on his face, shows you what this character meant to him, what the story meant to him. This is a guy that doesn't have to pick these kind of movies. He could pick the sort of superficial shit and get paid well for it. He can do what he wants. The fact he's still picking out these great stories and doing these. And look, I looked at his filmography. Last 5 years, realistically, he's maybe done 3 good movies in the last 5 years. He needs to fucking step up and start doing movies like this again. This is what he's capable of. I'm thinking The Martian, Ford v Ferrari. He was a supporting character in that, though. He was like the best friend of Christian Bale's character, but still amazing, that relationship between those two characters. He needs to get back doing movies like this. This is where he really excels and shows his acting ability. He's incredible and unbelievable. But much like yous, I thought Lilo Searvald, if that's how you say her name. I'm not French. I can't speak French. I can't pronounce the words like the French. They've got a certain way of pronouncing words. They almost spit it. Lilo Searvald. And then you've got Camille Cotton as well in there. Those three, those were the sort of trifecta of great performances. Abigail Breslin, I hated the character, but probably a great performance in all honesty. You mentioned some of the movies she was in, Steve, and she was in like Signs and what was the other one? Zombieland. So it's a really well felt out cast, and obviously the cast and director probably working with Tom McCarthy. They've done their research here and they've compiled a brilliant cast. And I really enjoyed it, but for me it was Matt Damon. He was a standout performer for me, and I think that's probably what most people would agree with watching this movie. For me, the story was about his character, and he just carries it with absolute ease. I was about to say cinematography, I don't know why. Technical stuff. Thoughts on the technical aspects of this movie. For me, it was a slow burn movie. It was slowly paced, but it was well edited. When you're speaking about a character needing more fleshed out, his backstory fleshed out, that tells you they've literally cut this movie to the brink of dying. It's like you can't cut any more off. It's like torturing a guy, Japanese torture. You're slicing bits of his flesh off. You literally can't take any more off, or it's going to die. That's a sign that they've edited this movie. It's clinical and it flowed well for me. I enjoyed it. I never get bored at any point. I watched it in one sitting. For me, I enjoyed the way it was edited, and so in that sort of side of it, technical side, really enjoyable. Cinematography, I loved. I thought it captured all the emotions. Great little close-ups, great wide shots. Captured the city of Marseille beautifully. The stadium, the atmosphere, the vibe of being at a football stadium in Europe, and just the wide shot, a subtle little wide shot I caught at the start of the movie of him walking to his mother-in-law's house. I thought it was his mother's, but his mother-in-law's house. And this isolated wide shot of this one-storey house, her sitting outside reading a book, and the dog's lying in the turf in the lawn out in the front lawn. I thought, fucking great. I love that wide shot. Just captured this sort of scenic little shot. I personally would like to stay there. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure the French Riviera is better, but I quite like that idyllic sort of calmness. The little dog lying out in the lawn, just chilling, reading a book. I'm a simple man, clearly, like the roughneck it is, Bill. But I thought the technical stuff was brilliant. I really enjoyed the little score as well. There's lovely little lively moments in the score, understated moments.
Yeah, Michael Dana was the composer.
Absolutely
He's
brilliant.
worked in the likes of Life of Pi and stuff like that.
Absolutely incredible score.
It just had that kind of haunting quality to it, which was enough.
Yes, yeah.
Don't want anything too dramatic for this kind of genre, but you're absolutely right. The editing, sometimes they do that thing with drama films where they kind of leave the scene after the dialogue's been spoken and they hang on a little bit. You know that way they do that.
Yeah.
They do that with certain dramas, long pauses. They didn't seem to do that in this. It moved at a pace that was not too frenetic, but like the trailer, like you described, Ruth. But it was just at that right sort of pacing for me. It kind of went along, and like we were talking about earlier, the sort of development of the character, the editing went along with the development of the character, which was a nice sort of parallel. And also, just cinematography for me. I always love drama films that know how to capture the moment, and they certainly did that in this film with the scenes, the backdrops, the way they captured Marseille. I liked the fact that they went to the dingy bits of the city as well. Most Hollywood films do
Marseille.
Paris, and they always have the Eiffel Tower outside the window. It doesn't matter where you stay in Paris, you've always got the Eiffel Tower outside your window.
Well, you can't miss it, Stephen.
They didn't do that in this film. It showed you the sort of grittier side to France as well. All cities have got it, and I liked it, and I thought Marseille did look good. There was some special moments, and they talked about the diving into the sea, John. Beautiful part of the country.
French
all
Riviera,
captured in the cinematography.
one of the best parts of in the world. On the Med, incredible place. Stephen, speaking about Paris, man, I was in Paris a long time ago, 20 years ago. I wish it was sooner. Incredible city. Some people talk shit about Paris, by the way. They say the people are rude and it's dirty.
Yeah.
It ain't dirty. It ain't any dirtier than any other major city in the world. No. And the people ain't rude. They're just working. They're living their life in a busy fucking urban place. Yeah. They ain't get time to stop by and hold the hands of tourists. Stop being ignorant. The French are fine. Paris is an incredible city, and you do see the Eiffel Tower, to be fair, Stephen. It is fucking, it's a very prominent landscape and landmark. I had the pleasure to go up it. Round about the same place that guy jumped off and failed with his first ever parachute. I don't know if you've heard the story about this guy, fucking Austrian guy or something, jumps off the first platform of the Eiffel Tower and just hits the ground. Actually creates a dent in the floor. I was up there, that's what I'm saying. Don't know where I'm going with this. Ruth, what is your thoughts on the technical stuff in this movie? If you've got any thoughts?
I think it was edited very well. I love the pace because it brought you on a journey, and it just I love all the shots, like you were saying, and that I really love the realism that they brought to it, that there are bits of the, because every time they show Paris, it's always like you said, it's the Eiffel Tower. It's also pretty. You have that rose-colored tint over everything, that kind of thing. But this one I love the color palette because it showed that the realism, that there are certain gritty parts to Paris as well, and I think it suited the look of the film, how the real people, there are a lot of real people living there, and not all of them are like super rich and all that, to be able to see how the ordinary people also live, in what is known as the most romantic city in the country, so and that was beautiful as well. I like I love all the shots through. It's like each time he walked down a street or he traveled up, the way it was shot, the angles and all that, you really went along the journey with him, which I thought was brilliant.
Off that little windy hill street when he punches the guy.
Yeah,
that was so exactly, Paris. It was painful. Or so France. It was painful. Sorry, it was just windy and old buildings and just. In fact, he was driving about in an old kicked-in Citroen. Citroen. It was just perfect to me. Citroen, that's how you say Citroen, by the way. It's not Citroen, it's Citroen. See what I'm saying with the French, the way they pronounce words.
I love that complex that they showed, where all those guys were living in and everything. I didn't even know until I saw that you could find these kind of places in Paris, so it was quite interesting to see, like what you would call a little bit of that ghetto feel in Paris as
Oh,
well.
listen,
So, I thought
all of the
that was
cities
pretty
have
good.
got that, man. And it's an issue we've got in most cities. You've got
Yeah.
the sort of rich urban centre. You've got the sort of gentrified areas where the poshies hang about and sip their coffee. Then as you go further out, you've got the real hard as nails areas,
So-
the old inner cities, and then the hardcore suburbs. And France has certainly got it. Some of the greatest football players to ever walk the face of the earth, like Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, I presume, some fucking incredible football players, Pogba. They've came from these sort of areas, these rough areas, and they've worked their ways up. So look, you can criticise those places, but they exist, and I completely agree. The fact that Tom McCarthy, an actual cinematographer, went out their way to showcase those parts of France and of
Mike
Europe
is
in general. I thought that was
doing
class.
its own thing, yeah.
And Masanobu Takayanaji, as you said, or did you say that? You actually mentioned the composer. Masanobu
Michael
Takayanaji. He
Dana.
done Hostiles.
Dana.
He done The Grey.
Mm.
He done Warrior. He's done a lot of incredible movies over the years. Black Mass. He's worked on a lot of really good
It was
movies.
very, very subtly played. It didn't detract from what the story was going on. It complemented it, in the best way possible. And I
Yeah.
thought, it was really very well done.
Final.
So yeah, I didn't have any issues on the look.
Yeah. Listen, I thought they captured the country perfectly. And just to pick that set, I thought that was a really ballsy thing. They could have put it anywhere.
Even his hometown as well.
Yeah, his hometown was
depressing.
well captured.
Yeah.
The sort of destruction of the tornado
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But again, it was just the perfect setting, putting this roughneck in this really culturally sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, culturally snobbish place. He's a fish out of water. But final thoughts on this movie before we get to the rating. Shall I go first?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie. I have got issues with it. There's small gripes. It's not perfection by any means, but I enjoyed it. I can see why the Cannes Film Festival enjoyed it. Putting a movie about France, the French Riviera, in a French film festival, of course they're going to lap that up and give it an 8-minute standing ovation. The vain bastards. The French, no one loves France more than France. The French, I should say. They're very self-absorbed people. But look, every country's the same, let's be honest. I really enjoyed it though. I liked the set and I liked the technical aspects, and Matt Damon character for me was the real heart and soul of the movie. And just the fact, as I said before, I don't want to go over it too much again, but this really downtrodden, one word sort of guy, he was introverted, on this journey. In the midst of tragedies, his daughter being incarcerated, he finds something special. He becomes a more culturally awakened guy. He becomes more rounded. He's not a fuck up, as his daughter calls him. He really finds himself. The viewer finds him as well. In that tragedy, to become that better guy and then to lose it all, I thought that was a poetic movie. And as we spoke about time and again, it's the right kind of ending, because nothing ends like most Hollywood movies portray it. It's not this happily ever after. This French woman runs to Oklahoma with her daughter and turns up on the doorstep and says, "We're back, let's get married." It doesn't work like that. Real life is, he made his decision. He's now stuck in Oklahoma with his just dour-faced daughter, and there's nothing for miles, but he's got the dog on the lawn, so that's something. I really liked the movie, that's what I'm saying. I enjoyed it. What's your thought, Stephen?
John, it's I might contradict you a little bit there at the end. I think it leaves it open-ended. That's what I get from it. That's what I get from a lot of these films. But it's more sort of the romantic in me that's thinking.
Do you think he goes back?
Maybe he goes back after 6 months. I
Right,
don't know. I like to think that, but I like the way
fact
it
that
ended.
he doesn't recognise anything.
Yeah,
He's changed.
It's that line that opens it up for me.
Yeah,
it's just
you might be right.
he might just be thinking, no, I need to get back to France. I don't belong here now. This isn't part of me anymore. I'm more
Don't belong
connected
here.
with my previous life over the last year or so. I don't even know how long he was there for, but
I think at least 6
I know
months.
that it said 6 months later, didn't it? At one point
4.
when she stopped speaking to him.
I think it was 4 months.
Or was it 4 months?
So
So
maybe
at
about
least
6
he's
months at
probably
least.
been there at least 6. At least 8 months to maybe a year. I don't know, but that's what I like about these films. That's what I liked about Three Billboards as well. It leaves it that way where in your head you can invent the stories. That would make a good podcast for us, I think. Doing the continuation, the Shawshank Redemption being one, John. I know that you have that theory on, but I think it just leaves it at that open-ended. That's what I get from it, that perhaps that if they didn't have that line at the very end, I'm saying, everything's changed, or paraphrasing here, then you could say it's a closed book, but I don't think it is.
And what the good stories end with Biggie's endings.
Yeah.
No one loves his Biggie's endings, so I
It's
enjoyed the
hollow
ending.
films, yeah.
And it is open-ended, you're right. Maybe he goes back, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just
That's
dies a lonely old man in
sparks
Oklahoma.
a debate, doesn't it?
I hope he goes back.
Yeah,
But we'll
well, I
never
think
know.
we all do. I
Yeah.
think we all hope that, but realistically, he did put the little girls in a predicament that
Yeah.
the mother didn't approve of, and I don't think most of us would approve of.
I bet that mother went back with that fucking long-haired man-bun director. A fucking grin he was, honestly. Absolute clown shoe, that guy.
Yeah, he was so French.
Oh, he was so French. Oh my days, I was expecting him to walk about with garlic around him and pull a baguette out
The
of somewhere.
striped shirt and the
The
beret.
striped shirt. Oui, oui. Oh la la, oui, oui.
Va-va-voom.
What's the line before I let Ruth in? What is the Bon de douche? The Del Boy Trotter line. I don't know what that means. I think it means a shower hat
Shower
or
cap,
something like that. Shower cat, Bonnie de douche. What is your final thoughts on this movie, Ruth? Before we go into actually grading this movie at the very end of it, if you
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very well written. It was very well acted by everyone. And of course, Matt Damon was just brilliant. I really, really loved his performance in this, and I think he should do more stuff like this because he's a really gifted actor, and he has consistently grown, I think, with every dramatic role he's been given, he's really grown a lot. And I really felt for the character a lot, and that's the beauty of it, is that when you are so drawn in and you kind of like feel for a character who usually is not the type of person you are used to encountering. I mean, where would I ever meet somebody who is from middle America, some guy who
go
works
to
on an oil
Edinburgh.
rig. It wouldn't fall within my normal, group of like the normal people I would come across in life. I mean, of course, not that my life is over. There's still a lot more to come. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not the usual person you would come across. But here I was like feeling for that character so much. I felt so sorry for him at the end that he had to leave, what he had worked so hard to build, to go back. And I'm a bit of a romantic too, and I would like to think that that's what it was, that that the change, in where he used to be, that there is a possibility he might go back, in a few months, now that he has done whatever he needs to save his daughter and everything.
We will look forward
There
to
is a
Stillwater
possibility
too.
he could. Exactly. I would like to hold on to the hope that in
Romantic
real
comedy.
life, if this was happening, that he would actually go back. He would like maybe take a
Yeah.
few months and think, oh no, I have to go back to that as well. But I really loved the entire movie. I thought it was really good. The only gripe I had was that maybe the ending bit was a little bit more too quick. They could have fleshed it out a bit more, and some parts were a little bit too convenient. Like he goes there, he finds the guy so easily, and then
I felt that.
brings back. So that part just kind of fell in place
Yeah.
a little too quickly. And so that was, but it's very slight. Overall, it was
That's the making of a
fabulous
good
movie.
film, though, Ruth. When you want more,
Yeah.
when you think the ending's too
Yeah.
condensed, that's because you want more. John, you said it a few months ago when we reviewed Castaway. Castaway had that kind of ending
Yeah.
as well, and you want that bit more. He spent.
I wanted to
2
see him
hours on
having
this island and
interactions
then
with that
5
woman.
minutes at the end of life. You
Yeah.
know?
That interactions with the woman they met.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him going off and experience
Yeah.
that new life and finding happiness, but they just don't do that in movies. They let
No.
you work it out yourself.
Yeah. That's what makes a
that's-
good movie. Yeah.
It is. Look, you think you read books, good books, and it ends. You think about where they went.
Because
and stuff.
I thought it was
subconsciously
a-
you think the second time you watch the film they're going to do that.
Yeah,
It's like Steve McQueen trying to go over that fence in The Great Escape. You think
It's
he's
like
going
The
to do it the
Perfect
second
Storm.
time.
you ever? By the way, you ever seen The Perfect
and
Storm?
I
Ruth?
also like the title of the movie. I thought was very apt because I think it really depicted him, because it's still waters run deep,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's what
yep.
he is.
Yeah.
He's got a depth to his character that
Yeah,
I
yes.
never thought of
wouldn't-
that. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
yeah.
Superficially, you think he's just this sort of airhead, Midwest sort of roughneck American, but he actually has got something going on under the surface. He's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That's perfect. That's a sort of double entendre.
French
Yeah.
again.
Double entendre again. It's French. Fucking French. I love the French, man. I'm kidding on. I love the French.
Yeah.
Look, they're an incredible country. They gave us so much. They gave us croissants. I fucking love croissants. They gave us baguettes.
Yeah,
I
I
fucking love
love
baguettes. They
croissants,
gave
yeah.
us some amazing tarts, sort of, I don't know, sweet, hardcore sweet dishes. I love the French. Fucking amazing country.
They
Love
gave
them.
us everything. They gave us croissants.
Gave us croissants. That's enough.
I love that.
That is enough. Really, croissants is enough to give anybody. But when you think about some of the other stuff they gave us, Stephen,
Yeah.
Je t'aime, that song. I was searching up whether Oklahoma is a Midwest state, and it turns out there's a bit of ambiguousness over that, but it is indeed a Midwest state. So I know my American geography probably better than most Americans do. Make of that what you will, American people coming in and watching this, if indeed you do coming in. But look, that's going to round up our actual final thoughts. I'm going to go to the grading if I can find my mouse cursor, and I can't. I can never find my mouse cursor. For fuck, I've just full screened it. Bear with me. It's a shambles. What's going on? It's full screened again. I'm going to rate this movie. I'm going to go first for a change. I'm going to rate this movie a shit. We'll find out if it's the right rating when it happens. It's not.
It's not that one. Okay.
It's a B minus. I'm rating this movie not a B, a B minus. Ruth, what are you rating it?
Oh, I'm definitely going with the B minus as
B
well.
minus. Stephen,
Well, I'm not going to go against the grain. It's a B minus for me as well.
there you go. We're all giving it a B minus. It's just a fucking
Yeah.
animated one B
I
minus.
think that's the first time we all agreed.
Yeah.
Because I usually like to be a sort of contrary soul, and I let you go first, and then I'll say no, I'm going to change it. Like I did last week. What was that? Did I change it last week, or was it 2 weeks back? I gave a movie a B. You all gave it a B minus. I sort of hooked you in. Let you go first, and it says no, I'm giving it that. I digress. So that's going around the review of. I rolled my arse there like a good Scotsman. The review of Stillwater. Up. What's your thoughts on this movie? Have you seen the movie? It's a movie that isn't widely out there. To be honest, you can get it in a number of different sources. You can go and watch it in a theatre just now over here, or alternatively, you can rent it for $25 or pounds, wherever the fuck you are, off of a degree of different various streaming services. Whatever way you mean to watch this movie, I highly urge you to go and watch it. If you have watched it, what's your thoughts on it? Do you agree with some of the things we've spoken about in this review? Do you agree with the grading? What is your grading? What's your thoughts on the movie? If you get anything to share about this movie and our reaction, the weather where you are, anything at all within reason, you can comment down below. I say within reason because I say man doesn't qualify. You can comment down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and hit the follow button over on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future. You'll get us back next Friday reviewing again. You get me and Stephen Monday to Thursday doing a degree of different things. Well, Stephen Monday, Wednesday, Friday, me Tuesday, Thursday, every day. And if you want to see that, you'll get it. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. I'm bye. I'm
Ciao.
away, guys, already. Bye.
Are you sure?